Hi everyone, Adrienne from Sunset Mouth Wellness. In this video today, I want to talk a little bit more about burnout recovery and prevention. In one of my previous videos, I talked about the autonomic nervous system and how that supports you in that needing to be really healthy so that we don't get burned out, so that we don't feel things like I don't have the will to live, or I can't do things the way I used to. I have no energy. I'm exhausted. I have brain fog. I'm making critical errors at work. I am short and angry more easily. These are commonly symptoms that I hear for folks who are going through burnout, which really just means your nervous system is not getting its needs met and you're not able to use energy in a way that keeps you stable, healthy, and thriving. So, from my research and my work, the foundational place that we start, and it isn't in self-care, it's in what I call truth-telling practices. And in this video, I'm going to give a couple ideas on how to get started on that for yourself. Truth-telling practices are exactly as they sound. It's telling the truth. But that's done in a systematic way so that the brain starts to say, when I do this, this happens. When we do this, this happens. So it's a cause and effect of the way that the brain is functioning through what's called neuroplasticity, which you can look up more on neuroplasticity. So that's what we're wanting to affect partially in recovering or preventing from burnout. So two ways to get started with that. One is the mindfulness practice of communicating what you hear, see, smell, taste, feel very literally. So you can see behind me, I see plants in pots. I've learned that the word for that color is green. I see that there is a wall behind me. I've learned that that is a wall. And I've learned that in English, I call that color white. So that's being really specific. And I hear that type of mindfulness exercise happening for grounding and bringing yourself back into the present, and that is true. But another value of that is it starts the brain having more instances of bringing in the intention of saying, here is what is real and what I know to be true. I know some of this stuff gets a little subjective and all of it is still based on our own reality. So there's a little bit of an art/science connected to this. But within that particular exercise, we can work on our observational communication. That's what the whole thing is, being observational. And observational can be with your five senses. So that can also be that I feel my shirt and it feels soft. Is that subjective? It's a little subjective. So it gets a little gray. But you still can, that's still going to get the point across in the brain, in that brain training of feeling that. I feel the shirt come down to halfway on my arm. I feel and see that it only comes to this point on my arm. The rest of my arm does not have clothing on it. Right? You find all these different ways to be specific. So that's one brain training exercise for getting the brain used to truth telling. What that does for you in a larger context is then you start being able to do that in more nuanced situations and in more emotional situations. So the second activity that I want to suggest is telling the truth on how you are feeling. So that can be done in a journal, or that can be done with a trusted person. And the point of this exercise is to really bear uncomfortable experiences that maybe don't seem very attractive or comfortable, or you might be, especially if you're going to tell somebody, you might be really ashamed of the thoughts and feelings that you're having towards a specific circumstance. And that is where the juicy work is. So if your statements or your feelings or your thoughts on an experience are making you feel things like shame, grief, embarrassment, confusion, frustration, anger, all of these feelings that can be really challenging to work with, right? These not good feelings is where we start to get really clear about what isn't working for us and what we are lacking in terms of getting our needs met. A lot of times we justify things. We're like, well, I'm kind of frustrated, but I know that it's because X, Y, and Z is happening, right? We give these evaluations, these explanations in the middle of our observational conversation. And that confuses the brain and justifies to the brain that you are healthy enough to handle the situation because you have figured out the logical reason why it's happening. That does not change the fact that you're struggling, that you're feeling frustration and overwhelm and sadness and grief around a situation. Even if you can justify it, even if you know you got to figure out how to suck it up, just sitting in the observational moment, this is frustrating. I have shame because society has said I should not be thinking or feeling this way. And so I don't want to speak out loud and say the truth. But really, this situation makes me angry. This situation makes me exhausted. Okay, so getting really clear on that without an evaluation, without an assumption. Okay, it can be hard work. And so if that's too overwhelming to start by having somebody witness your story, witness your emotions and your thoughts, you can start by writing them down. I have found that even that can be challenging for people. It can be even scary just to write down, I'm angry that this is happening. Because you feel ashamed that you're angry about something that you either know is not within your control, or you can justify it in certain ways, or you know other people have it worse off than you do, and you should be lucky and grateful for certain things, and so therefore you shouldn't be angry because you have a lot of good things in your life. That may be true, and you're lying to yourself when you say you're not frustrated, when you are. And this is how we start to heal from burnout. So those are the two ways. Be observational, very specific, naming, feeling. You can do that with food, tasting, being really literal in your description, either thinking it in your head or saying it out loud or writing it down. And witnessing your actual emotions. I am feeling this way without there being this extra evaluation attached to it, or explanation, or other feelings about feelings. So working towards getting to the core of the feeling, regardless of other ways you feel. So those are the two ways to get started on truth-telling practices that lead to a larger picture of recovering from burnout. Thanks.